let me introduce you to our accommodation for the night, which is a yurt, basically a round dome tent igloo thing that you will see all along Central Asia. And there's a dog eating my feet. Yeah, let's go in. Let's check it out. Alright, so basically you hire these things for up to 10 people. So there's space in here and bedding and mattresses and all that stuff. Since there's only 2 of us, we have this whole palace to ourselves. And as you can see, it comes with a light bulb, a little table, bedding, and we're sleeping on pallets, as you can see there. And comes with one very questionable power plug, which is currently charging my batteries because, you know, I need power. And an even more questionable light switch, which, yeah, I'm a bit scared of, but it works. And that's about it. Super, super simple, but it's actually quite big for 2 people. And it's costing us 4,000 tenge, which is about $12 for 2 people per night. Australian dollars, so about 10 US dollars. Alright, welcome to Kazakhstan again. We're actually doing a hike between 2 lakes, Lake number 1 and Lake number 2. That's a bit of a lame name, but that's what they call it. And on the way there, I was really excited to shoot the second lake and get up there and be, you know, all by ourselves up there and really enjoy the nature around it and capture that feeling of being up there. But on the way there, we're basically following the river that connects the 2 lakes. And obviously we're in the mountains and we're climbing up this steep hill. We found this beautiful cascade that's falling down right in front of us here. That's also the noise that you can hear in the background. And basically, there's a really cool shot to be had here, I think. There's a couple of highlights. The sun is shining through. We have some spray, which gives us a few light rays and some fallen trees. All these beautiful elements that come together to create a really nice scene. So we're going to hopefully capture that. Now I want to use a really special feature that you can only do with selected Olympus cameras, which is called a high resolution shot. Basically, the sensor moves 8 times by half a pixel to create an 80 megapixel RAW file and a 50 megapixel JPEG file. Now I also want to do a long exposure shot, so I'm going to be using the high resolution feature on a tripod, and we'll be using a long exposure to capture the flow of the water, like blur the flow, and hopefully create a little more movement in the shot. All right, let's give this a shot. Alright, to finish off this episode, I'd love to show you the difference between a high resolution shot and a regular RAW file out of the Olympus EM1 Mark II, and I'll show you how I edit one of the shots just to see what we can pull out of a high res shot and a regular RAW file. So here in purple are the high resolution shots, and at the same time I also shot some regular 20.4 megapixel shots. The best way to find out if it's a high-res shot or not is to just press I once you're looking at the photo, and at the top left we now see the file name, the date and time it was captured, and the resolution. So that's a regular 20 megapixel RAW file, and the next one is the 80 megapixel. You can see the resolution changes dramatically from 5,000 by almost 4,000 to 10,000 by almost 8,000 pixels. So we get a lot more information in this file. I'll just show you the regular file. So we're going to zoom into 100%. The long exposure worked really well. As we can see, all the water is nice and blurred. There's a couple of burnt out spots, but we can probably recover, if not cover that up. And some of the branches were moving in the front, so we got some blur and artifacts there. But
the shot looks pretty crisp. I'm pretty happy with the general exposure of this shot. Not too much detail was lost in the shadows either. And if we move to the high-res shot, wow, what a zoom in. Again, I'm at 100%, and look at all the detail. We can see the moss, all the branches of the dead trees. Everything that was static looks amazing. Obviously, everything that was moving, like these branches in the foreground, have a little blur in them, but nothing too crazy. But if I compare that to the regular long exposure, there we have some blur here as well, and they're very comparable, so a little movement is not a problem, as you can see. Cool, let's go in and edit this shot. Zoom out, let's go in and edit. Just be warned, if you're working with 80 megapixel RAW files, you're absolutely going to need a strong computer. Now I'm going to save myself a little bit of time and use one of my new presets from the Mountain Pack, which you can download. I'll link it now, and you can find it in the description as well. I think as I hover over these, we can see the top left is showing me a preview. Basecamp's looking pretty nice. Let's go down here. Whoa. Oh, I like rock. Let's use rock. Okay. These presets are basically just a starting point. We're obviously going to have to do a little bit here. The highlights are completely burnt out. So let's bring down that exposure a little bit. Yeah. And I think we're going to push the shadows and the highlights apart a little more. Yeah, there we go. And you can see I definitely burnt out some of the highlights here. A good way of spotting that is by just crushing the blacks, crushing the exposure. We can see where it's staying white, that's where it's burnt out. And the same the other way, we will find where it's completely black. Seems like in the shadows I almost managed to not lose any detail, but obviously in the highlights it happens really quickly when you're shooting water like this, so always try to underexpose a little bit. Okay, I'm happy with the general settings of this. Maybe push the blacks up a little more, yeah. And I want to get more focus. I want the eye to sink into this water and maybe follow it up or down the stream. So what we're going to have to do is maybe some vignetting. I'm going to scroll down. Alright, there's quite a lot of post-crop vignetting going on already, but maybe we can suck it in more. There we go. Maybe give it a 10% dehaze. If you push shift and up or down arrow keys, then you can jump in 10s and 20s and full stops depending on where you're pushing where you're changing your settings. And then I think there's a lot to be done here. I think we can push the yellows to bring out more color in the leaves and the greenery, greens as well. And maybe we can change the hue of the greens. Maybe the yellows. Yeah, that looks good. And now I'm going to just do a local adjustment. So I'm going to take my radial filter. I love that thing. And just get more attention down here where it's happening. Obviously not so much. Crush those highlights. We'll leave the highlights to avoid this here. We can fix that later as well. And bring out a little more. There we go. Now the foreground is looking good. Maybe we can drop the contrast a bit. And not so dramatic. Okay, a quick edit really. Happy with that. Okay, I'm going to do the same again with another one. So Shift M brings you to the radial filter. And I'm just going to select my center area. Do not a single adjustment, but clarity. Let's get some clarity in here. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to show you the before, and this is the after. Okay. Now the only thing that's distracting me quite a bit here is obviously the highlights that are burnt out. And the best way to fix that is to work on the tonal curve. And okay, you know me, I like a little bit less saturation, so I'm gonna drop that a bit more. And you can always play with water with the luminance of the blues and aqua tones. So if I push and crush these, you can see how there's more or less water detail. So we want to crush them a little, just be careful with this. Same with this, has a little bit of an effect in the foreground there. Crush it, raise it. So yeah, definitely gonna crush it a bit. And just playing around a bit. I gotta get the right feeling. Okay, I think we're good. Maybe the highlights. Okay, so the highlights are concerning all the water. Maybe we can change the hue there a little bit to get a bit more of a feel. I like the yellowish tone we got going, so Let's do that. And that's about it. I'm happy with that. I'll show you the before. That was the before, and that's the after. And I can copy this setting. I'm just going to take everything, check all, copy, and here we do a Command V or Control V on Windows. There we go. So very similar looking images, as you can see. Yeah, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from this. And look at all that detail. Amazing. If you like this episode, check out the other editing episodes I have and the other adventure photography and location episodes, and subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment below and let me know what you think, and hopefully I'll see you next week for the next episode.